Yesterday, former President Donald Trump was found guilty of 34 felony charges related to falsifying documents and a hush money payment to porn star Stormy Daniels ahead of the 2016 election. A jury of 7 men and 5 women deliberated for nearly 10 hours before returning the guilty verdicts. It was the first time in U.S. history that a former president faced a criminal trial and now a conviction. Now, all of this has reportedly turned into a windfall of the presumptive GOP nominee, just like I told y'all it would. Trump's campaign says they've raised nearly $40 million since the conviction yesterday. He spoke today, blasting the conviction in front of Trump Tower in New York City. Here's what he had to say.
This is a case where if they can do this to me, they can do this to anyone. So I'm the leading person for president, and I'm under a gag order by a man that can't put 2 sentences together, given by a court, and they are in total conjunction with the White House and the DOJ, just so you understand. This is all done by Biden and his people. Maybe his people more importantly. I don't know if Biden knows too much about it, because I don't know if he knows about anything. It was a rigged trial. We wanted a venue change where we could have a fair trial. We didn't get it. We wanted a judge change. We wanted a judge that wasn't conflicted, and obviously he didn't do that. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. But we're going to make America great again. We're going to make it better than ever before. November 5th, remember, November 5th is the most important day in the history of our country.
That's Election Day. It's Election Day. We'll see. As for the White House, President Biden obviously responded to Trump's remarks, claiming a rigged trial this afternoon. Listen up.
The American principle that no one is above the law was reaffirmed. Donald Trump was given every opportunity to defend himself. That's how the American system of justice works. And it's reckless, it's dangerous, it's irresponsible for anyone to say this was rigged just because they don't like the verdict. Our justice system has endured for nearly 250 years, and it literally is the cornerstone of America. Our justice system. The justice system should be respected, and we should never allow anyone to tear it down.
Before I get into my opinions, let me say this. As a convicted felon in New York, Trump cannot vote in the Empire State. However, as a Florida resident, he's eligible to vote in the November election. See, a couple of things that I wanted to point to. Number one, didn't I tell y'all yesterday? I mean, at some point in time, not to pat myself on the back, but is somebody going to sit up there and say Stephen A had a point? Stephen A was right. I told y'all he keeps coming. I said months ago, you better get him. You better get him. It can't be one of those situations where he's not in jail. It can't be one of those situations where he's still the GOP, the presumptive GOP nominee who becomes the GOP nominee. It can't be that. You got to beat him. Or you got to take him out and prevent him from running. It can't be an in-between. I told y'all when he got convicted yesterday, how much you want to make a bet? He was going to use this for campaign fodder. He was going to generate more funds. Over $40 million in 24 hours? Or nearly $40 million in 24 hours? That's what he's done. That's what he's done. He can still run for office. He's still a presumptive GOP nominee. He still gets to vote for himself in the November election because he's a Florida resident. All of this stuff is happening. And by the way, if he gets convicted, because we have a system, everybody want to brag about, like Outkick wrote something about me today, talking about I'm spewing CNN points. No, hell with CNN. Fox News, MSNBC, this ain't about any of that. I'm not taking sides here. I'm simply pointing out, damn, look at what's transpiring. We can't ignore this. Just like we can't ignore the fact that he is a convicted felon. Just like we can't ignore the fact that he was deemed to be a pathological liar in some people's eyes. Just like we can't ignore the fact that chaos reigned in the streets a lot of times in terms of how divisive our culture had become up to his last election against Biden before he lost that by more than 6 million votes, 7 million votes. Just like I pointed that out, I pointed out how Biden's slipping. The momentum is swelling for Trump. He was ahead in 6 of the 7 polls as recently as weeks ago. He's the presumptive GOP nominee. Everybody else is backed out. They've conceded. He's the man. On the right, whether it's Vivek Ramaswamy, whether it's Nikki Haley, whether it's Chris Christie, whether it's Ron DeSantis, it doesn't matter. He's the guy. And you're going to have to deal with him. And then when he gets convicted yesterday, I told y'all, he's going to generate more money. And we got our founding fathers, these folks on the right, screaming about the Constitution, the Constitution. Well, why the hell does the Constitution allow for somebody who's convicted of a felony, in his case, 34 felonies, albeit Class E misdemeanors, Class E felonies rather, which were basically misdemeanors in a lot of people's eyes because it doesn't involve any jail time. The bottom line is this. Our society allows for him to still run for president. Even if the judge on July 11th, assuming it doesn't get moved, the court date doesn't get moved back 4 days before the Republican National Convention, by the way, even if they threw Trump in jail, do you know he can still run? You know you're still allowed to vote for him? You know he's still allowed to win the White House if he receives more electoral college votes, even from prison? Makes no sense. That's not a CNN or a leftist or liberal talking point. It's a fact. And it's a fact that there's something wrong with our Constitution, that something like that can exist. I, for one, look at this as simple. The man tried to keep quiet. He gave money to a porn star to keep quiet because if it had gotten out, he might have lost the election. That's how I view it. I think the charges wait for him in Georgia and various other places are more serious. I think that's been validated by all the speculation that after receiving a guilty verdict on all 34 counts, the likelihood is that he's going to get probation and not jail time. That's not me playing around. That's not me dismissing what he may have done or what the courts now say he has done. It's me saying, well, if it was that damn serious, how come his ass ain't going to jail? It's a legitimate question. And now here we are, with the November election rapidly approaching, with the Republican National Convention rapidly approaching, with Trump claiming once again something is rigged, with him claiming now they're trying to swing the election and they're engaging in lawfare to swing the election, Biden came out appropriately and spoke out against it. Now, it's going to behoove Biden to be as consistent when it comes to his son and what people are going to say about his son, especially if for any reason his son gets off. It behooves President Biden to be aware of all of that. It also behooves him to be on high alert, to be ready to compete for the presidency in November, because clearly he doesn't plan on stepping aside for Kamala Harris, Gavin Newsom, or anybody else. So it is what it is. But I'm just looking at this upcoming election, because last election, 2020, Trump lost to Biden, 306 electoral votes to Trump's 232. Biden had 81,283,501 votes to Trump's 74,223,975,000. That's more than 7 million votes that Biden won with the popular vote tally. But you know what it also says? How many people voted? 159.7 million, about 66.8% of the voting eligible population. That means 33.2% didn't vote. This upcoming election, it's projected that there will be 244 million eligible voters. It was 239.2 million in 2020. Now it's risen to 244 million. Eligible voters scheduled to be at this election. It's about participation. Black folks got to go to the poll. Latinos got to go to the polls. Women have to go to the polls. All of this stuff are the things that we're hearing right now. This ain't about the left or the right. This is about our society, our democracy, mayhem taking place in the streets of America. And this dude, Trump, is milking it, even while being a now convicted felon. He's getting money for his campaign. The support is swelling. And on top of it all, he's spewing about the very concerns American citizens have. Safety in the streets of America. Is the economy really as good as the left says it is? The labor participation rate in the workforce. How many jobs do you have to get to make ends meet and to be able to pay the bills that you used to be able to pay with one job? Inflation. What about the ladies in terms of the Supreme Court ruling to overturn Roe v. Wade? You hearing all of these things going on. Trump don't talk about that much because he can't. He'll lose that battle. But a lot of the other stuff, people are paying attention to it. And what it really, really comes down to is Biden going to be able to get people to the polls in 2024 the way he was able to get people to the polls in 2020? It's not about more people voting for Trump than voting for Biden. It's whether or not the same amount of people that voted for Biden are going to show up to the polls to vote for him again, or they're going to be couch potatoes, whistling into the wind, but won't want to get their behinds up off the couch to go to the voting polls, or to even send in mail-in ballots. That's the concern. And the fact that it's the concern when your opponent is now a convicted felon, who, by the way, lost a $34 or $454 million civil suit prior to this, who's got about 3 other cases up against him, in all likelihood before this year is out. How in God's name is he still a high-end competitor for the presidency against our resident incumbent in President Biden? That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. And when it comes to black folks, that's something we're going to get into in the weeks to come. Because folks have said we've decided elections in the past. We damn sure are going to play a pivotal role in this upcoming election. It's going to be real interesting to find out where so many people are at, how they truly, truly feel, and how substantive their arguments are for or against either candidate. Oh, that's something we're going to touch on this show. Again, that's not about politics. That's about social issues. That's about social commentary. That's about real life. We're going to have that discussion. Make no mistake about it.